When I first heard about Reverie in 2017, there were a few things that interested me about it. Firstly, the game was being developed for the PlayStation Vita, a handheld with a declining library of games outside of Japan. Secondly, the game was being developed by a New Zealand studio. As a New Zealander myself, it's certainly something I'm very interested into looking into. Lastly, the gameplay seemed to be heavily influenced by 2D Legend of Zelda games, with the art style resembling the Mother or Earthbound series of games. I had the opportunity to meet some of the staff of Rainbite Studios when I attended the Armageddon convention up in Auckland last October. I saw a demo of the game featuring the first dungeon and decided that I'd give this game a go when it came out. As of the time of this review, the only version of the game available, and the footage you see here, is from the PlayStation Vita version, with the PlayStation 4 version of the game due at a later date. In Reverie, you play as Tai, a young boy off to meet his grandparents on Toromi Island, a fictional island off the coast of New Zealand. Tai's grandfather had heard of his backyard adventuring at home, and is hoping that Tai would explore and enjoy his time on Toromi Island. After an earthquake rocks the island, Tai's grandfather explains it as the spirits getting restless on the island, and sends Tai out to go get a lantern. After getting his trusty cricket bat from his room and a lantern from the shop, Grandpa sends Tai into the basement to fetch an old book, introducing you to the first dungeon of the game. After getting the book, Tai is free to explore Toromi Island, and the fate of the island now rests on a boy with a cricket bat going around quelling restless spirits. But is this game any good? Find out in The Good. The game really shows its New Zealand influence with some tongue-in-cheek humour and references to the indigenous Maori people of New Zealand, as well as New Zealand heritage or Kiwiana. The beginning of the game tells a legend about how long ago a man named Heke and his 3 brothers went out fishing, promising to return with food. After having no luck catching any fish, Heke's brothers went to sleep, but Heke, determined not to leave empty-handed, continued to fish and eventually raised Toromi Island as a result. Jealous of his catch, his brothers threw him overboard, and Heke cursed his brothers to always fight to outdo one another. A storm brewed, and Heke's brothers found themselves stranded on Toromi Island, where hunger eventually bested them. Because of the curse, Heke and his brothers' spirits remain restless, disrupting the peace of the island. Parts of the legend are drawn from the Maori legends and depictions of their hero Maui, who had fished up the North Island of New Zealand, with his canoe being the South Island and Stewart Island at the bottom being his hook. Maui also did some other things like restraining the sun and beating him with his grandma's jawbone until he agreed to slow down, and bringing fire to humans before ironically dying trying to bring immortality to humankind. Heke's brothers are references to the Maori language, with his brothers named Tahi, Rua and Toru, the Maori words for 1, 2 and 3. The game also references other things New Zealand have been known for, such as rugby, a reference to the Hobbit films, and more recently the 2016 New Zealand film Hunt for the Wilder People. The game also features New Zealand slang, though one thing I'm a little concerned here is whether some of it needs explaining, though a kiwi fruit being used as a bomb is a new one to me. The game even references recent pop culture, with a trophy being unlocked for simply answering no to pineapples, referring to the pineapple on pizza debate. The game even has educational features going for it, with Tai collecting feathers from native birds around New Zealand. Visually, and as a fun fact, the signs introducing Tai to each place are based off New Zealand Department of Conservation signs, and One Stump Hill is a reference to One Tree Hill in Auckland, which said tree was cut down in 2000. The sense of humour and references the game has will appeal to a New Zealand audience or people familiar with Kiwiana, though I feel the impact of the humour and references may not make as much sense overseas. Gameplay wise, as I mentioned earlier, Reverie draws a lot of its gameplay elements from the 2D Legend of Zelda games. Tai swings his cricket bat to attack enemies, and as he explores the dungeons of the game, he would find an item that would be instrumental to solving the puzzles of the dungeon and defeating its boss. The dungeon mechanics draws its similarities with Zelda by featuring a map, new item and boss key, though the compass is absent. The final dungeon is the only dungeon in the game to lack a new item, and Tai must rely on all the items he had gathered at this point to complete it. Following Zelda's gameplay style with exploration and fighting was certainly a safe bet, and definitely paid off. I found the puzzles were manageable and not particularly too difficult, and the game kept me interested from start to finish. Reverie's secrets, while referencing Kiwiana, were also inspired by Zelda's penchant to explore every nook and cranny of the overworld, which also added to my overall enjoyment of the game. The game's art style heavily resembles that of Mother/Earthbound, which is a nice touch to the game as well. The game's music I felt was quite chipper and light-hearted on the overworld, taking a more serious approach with dungeons to match the tone. But the game's not perfect, so let's look at some of its faults in The Bad. The game, with only 5 dungeons, 6 if you include the post-game one, felt a little on the short side to me. I was able to beat the game and the post-game stuff in under 6 hours, and I felt that the only post-game content is simply wrapping up, collecting feathers and beating the post-game dungeon, which you can choose by attacking the enemies from the doorway or behind a wall for most of it, sort of like in Golden Axe Warrior. I felt that the game was a little on the short side compared to what I would have expected from a Zelda-esque game, and while there were a couple of mini-games and side quests, I felt that having a few more of them would have made the game last a little longer or even provide a bit more of a challenge. I personally think that this game would have been perfect to have a trading quest much like in the Legend of Zelda games, especially if you're looking to showcase Kiwiana by having Tai trade those items to people around the island to ultimately get something that can help them late into the game. Another thing I didn't particularly like about the game were some of the hazards in the dungeon, forcing you to lose all of your health to escape. At one point in the game, Tai will receive a pet rock, which you can place on switches and knock around to solve puzzles. One of the things the rock can do is block lasers in the final dungeon. However, if Tai gets too close to the rock, he'll pick it up, and if he hits the rock with the cricket bat, the rock will move. This forces Tai to be stuck in between the lasers, constantly taking damage. Tai can't roll out of harm's way or reset the progress in the room when he's stuck, so the game leaves you with no choice but to run out of health and restart at the beginning of the dungeon again. Trying to heal Tai while he's stuck will achieve nothing more than wasting an item. Some of the post-game items I felt were pointless by the time you get them, as there's no real situation that you would need to use these items in, and the only benefit I can see in them is if they were used in a New Game Plus mode, which the game sadly does not have. Outside of that laser gripe, I can't say I came across a lot of bugs in the game, though I did have a loading screen hang on me which forced me to close and restart the game after staring at it for 5 minutes. Otherwise, that's it for me for the bad, so it's time I give the opinion. Reverie I feel is a well-polished game and doesn't hesitate to show its New Zealand influence. The game draws a number of story and mythological elements from New Zealand heritage and indigenous Maori culture, and the game makes it loud and clear throughout it. Being influenced by 2D Zelda's gameplay and Earthbound's visuals made for a good combination, and to me made the game more appealing to play through. While its length and some frustrating sections did annoy me a little, in saying that, the length does make the game a perfect title to play on the go, and the rock can serve as a clever solution for some of the puzzles in the game. As a New Zealander, it's a game I'd recommend to people if they want to learn a little bit more about us, but as a reviewer I'd recommend picking this game up if you're a fan of Zelda-esque gameplay and Earthbound inspired visuals. If you don't have a Vita, the game is coming to the PlayStation 4 as well, so you have an opportunity to give the game a go there. Rainbite certainly did an awesome job with this game, and I'd like to see what they've got in store for us in the future. So with that, it's time for my rating. Reverie gets a packet of pineapple lumps out of 10. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next Infinite Backlog review. If you enjoyed today's review, feel free to check out some of our other videos and subscribe for more. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram and our Facebook page. Once again, thank you for watching.